The rain had been falling since evening, heavy and restless, as if the sky itself wanted to drown the city. People rushed into their apartments and offices, escaping the thunder and the wind that rattled windows like impatient hands. In the middle of this storm, Rena stood inside a tall glass building, her heart pounding faster than the raindrops crashing outside. She had just finished a tense meeting that left her head full of worries she could not share with anyone. Rena pressed the button for the elevator. She wanted to reach the parking basement quickly, drive away, and find some silence in her empty apartment. Her umbrella was broken, and her shoes were already soaked from stepping in puddles earlier. She brushed strands of wet hair away from her face and exhaled. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. She stepped inside, and just before the doors closed, a man slipped in. He looked tired, his shirt slightly damp, his dark hair sticking to his forehead from the rain. He gave a polite nod but said nothing. Rena kept her gaze on the glowing floor numbers. She had no interest in strangers, especially not tonight. The elevator hummed as it descended. But halfway down, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then, with a loud click, the entire cabin shuddered to a stop. Darkness swallowed them before the emergency light blinked on, filling the small space with a pale orange glow. Rena's stomach dropped. "No, no, no," she whispered. She pressed the buttons again and again, but nothing moved. The man cleared his throat. "Looks like the storm knocked something out. Don't worry, these elevators usually restart after a while." His voice was calm, though his brows were drawn together. Rena stepped back, hugging her arms tightly. "I hate closed spaces," she admitted quietly. "I can't breathe when I feel trapped." The man crouched slightly, lowering his tone. "Just breathe slowly. In and out. You're not alone." She glanced at him, realizing he was younger than she first thought, maybe in his late 20s. His eyes carried a steadiness that seemed out of place in this shaky moment. Minutes stretched into an hour. The storm outside roared louder, thunder shaking the building. Rena sat on the floor finally, pulling her knees close. Silence filled the elevator except for the faint buzzing of the emergency light. To distract herself, she asked, "What's your name?" "Amir," he replied simply. "And you?" "Rena." He nodded. "Well, Rena, looks like we'll be stuck here until someone comes. Maybe we should talk to pass the time." At first, she didn't want to. She wasn't used to opening up. But the stillness, the storm, and the strangeness of being trapped pushed her to speak. They exchanged small details. Amir was working 2 jobs to support his younger sister in college. Rena mentioned she worked in business but didn't give much away. Her phone had no signal, so she couldn't call anyone. Amir checked his same problem. The storm had blocked the lines. Hours passed. Their voices grew softer, almost friendly. Amir noticed her trembling fingers. "You're not just afraid of the elevator, are you?" he asked gently. Rena hesitated. Her eyes went to the metal walls as if searching for an escape. "There's too much in my life right now," she whispered. "Too many people watching me, expecting things from me. And I can't tell anyone what I really feel." Amir didn't push her for more. He simply said, "Sometimes, strangers are easier to talk to than people we know." Something about his words broke the dam inside her. She laughed softly, though tears threatened. "You're right. Maybe I'll tell you one secret tonight, since we might never see each other again." And there, in the dim light of a broken elevator, while the storm shook the world outside, Rina leaned closer and spoke words that would change everything between them. I need someone to pretend to be my boyfriend. And I'm willing to pay. Amir blinked, unsure if he had heard right. What? Her voice was firm now, though her hands shook. I'll give you $200,000 if you help me. It's complicated. But I need this more than anything. The storm roared as if echoing her confession. Amir stared at her, torn between disbelief and curiosity. Trapped in that elevator, with nowhere to run, a deal was born, one that neither of them knew would unravel secrets far deeper than money or lies. The elevator groaned again, but it didn't move. The storm outside still raged, but inside the small cabin, the silence was heavier than thunder. Amir looked at Rina, trying to decide if she was joking. Her expression told him she was serious. Her eyes were sharp, yet behind them was a kind of desperation that words could not hide. You want me to pretend to be your boyfriend? Amir repeated slowly, as if testing the sound of it. Rina nodded. Her hands were clenched in her lap. Yes. And I'll pay you $200,000. But I don't have time to explain everything now. Just tell me if you'll consider it. Amir rubbed his forehead. He wasn't the type to jump into wild ideas. His life was simple: work, sleep, care for his sister. Money was always short, but he had never imagined someone would throw such a huge amount into his lap for something that sounded almost like a story from a drama. He studied her carefully. She was dressed in a neat office suit, her hair pinned back though a few strands had escaped. Even in the dim emergency light, her posture screamed of someone who carried too much weight on her shoulders. Finally, he said, "Why me? You don't even know who I am." "That's the point," Rina answered quietly. "I don't want someone from my world. People in my circle, they talk, they gossip, they use information against me. I need someone clean. Someone who won't betray me." Her voice cracked on the last word. Amir noticed and leaned against the elevator wall, folding his arms. "Still, you could hire an actor." "Why, this?" She bit her lip before replying. "Because I can't trust actors either. They sell stories to the press. I've seen it happen." For a while, neither spoke. The storm outside felt like a drum beating on the city. Amir thought about his sister, Aisha, who worked part-time while studying medicine. Tuition fees were like a mountain, and he had been climbing it alone for years. $200,000 could change everything. It could give his sister a chance to study in peace. It could give them both a future without endless worry. But still, the thought of pretending to love someone he barely knew unsettled him. He wasn't good at lies. As if reading his hesitation, Rina said, "It's not forever. Just for a while. A few months at most. Long enough for my family to believe it. After that, you'll be free." "Your family," Amir repeated. "So this is about them." Rina hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Yes. My father has been pressuring me to get engaged. He wants me to marry someone I don't trust. If I show him I'm already with someone, maybe he'll stop. I just need time." Amir could hear the hidden plea in her words. She wasn't just asking for an act, she was asking for a shield. Before he could answer, the elevator lights flickered again. The cabin shook slightly, and then with a loud beep, it hummed back to life. The numbers on the panel began to move. Both of them straightened, almost forgetting the heavy conversation in their relief. Within moments, the doors slid open at the basement parking. The storm's echo filled the air as they stepped out. Rina adjusted her bag and turned to him. Think about what I said. I'll wait for your answer. Tomorrow evening, meet me at the cafe on Maple Street, near the bookstore. If you don't come, I'll understand. With that, she walked briskly toward her car. The sound of her heels faded against the wet floor. Amir stood there for a long moment, watching her disappear into the shadows. The next day, Amir tried to push the memory away. He went to his morning shift at the grocery store, stacking shelves and carrying boxes. But her words clung to him. $200,000. He thought about his sister's tired smile, the pile of bills on his desk, the small rented apartment they shared. By evening, he found himself walking to Maple Street. The storm had cleared, and the city glistened under streetlights. He told himself he was only going to listen, nothing more. The cafe was warm and smelled of coffee beans. Rina sat by the window, her hands folded around a cup. She looked calmer now, but her eyes still searched the door anxiously until she saw him. You came, she said softly. I came to hear the details, Amir replied, sliding into the chair across from her. Rina leaned forward. It's simple. We'll say we met by chance, we liked each other, and we're now together. I'll introduce you to my father and a few close relatives. You'll attend family dinners, events, smile when needed. That's all. No one else needs to know it's fake. And after? Amir asked. After a few months, I'll tell them we broke up. By then, the pressure will have lessened. I'll handle the rest. Amir stirred his coffee slowly. Why 200,000? That's too much. Her lips curved into a sad smile. Because I know what I'm asking for is not easy. You'll be living a lie with me. Lies deserve to be paid for. He looked at her long and hard. There was something fragile in her voice, like she was building walls even as she begged for help. He realized then that this wasn't just about escaping an arranged marriage, it was about survival. Finally, Amir placed the spoon down. All right. I'll do it. Rina's shoulders sagged with relief. For the first time since he met her, she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. But neither of them knew that behind this agreement lay truths that could tear both their lives apart. The days that followed moved quickly, as if life itself wanted to test Amir's decision. One moment, he was stocking shelves and calculating grocery bills, and the next, he found himself buying a suit with money Rina had handed him in advance. She had insisted it was necessary. Her family was traditional, sharp-eyed, and would judge a person within minutes. Amir wasn't used to fine clothes. As he stood in front of the mirror, wearing the simple black suit and polished shoes, he barely recognized himself. He looked like someone from another life, someone who belonged to the shining glass towers Rina often walked in. That evening, she called him. Tomorrow, she said, her voice steady though he sensed tension behind it, you'll meet my father. We're having a small dinner at home. Just a family gathering. Nothing too big. Amir swallowed. He had faced tough customers, debt collectors, and long nights of endless work, but the thought of pretending love in front of strangers twisted his stomach in ways he didn't expect. Still, he remembered Aisha's smile when she had opened the envelope of money Rina had already given. This is for your books, and next semester's fee, he had told her, hiding the truth. The relief on her face had been priceless. So he agreed. The next evening, Rina's car stopped in front of her family's mansion. It wasn't just a house, it was a statement. Wide gates, tall palm trees swaying gently, golden lights glowing from the windows. Amir had never stepped into such a place before. Rina noticed his hesitation. "Just stay calm," she whispered as they walked up the steps. "You don't need to say much. Just be polite. And, try to smile sometimes." Amir gave her a small look. "I'll try." The door opened, and a tall man with graying hair stood there. His presence filled the doorway even before his voice did. "Rina." "Baba," she greeted, kissing his hand respectfully. Then, turning to Amir, she added, "This is Amir, my boyfriend." The word hung in the air for a second. Amir forced a gentle smile and bowed his head slightly. "Assalamu alaikum, sir." Her father's eyes narrowed as if measuring him from head to toe. "Walaikum assalam," he replied, his tone neutral but sharp. Inside, the dining table stretched long and elegant, covered with dishes Amir couldn't even name. Chandeliers sparkled above, and the polished floor reflected every step. Rina's younger cousin Lila giggled as she saw them enter, while an older aunt whispered something under her breath. Amir could feel every gaze land on him. They sat down. Rina's father cleared his throat. "So, Amir, what do you do?" Amir hesitated. He hadn't prepared for this exact question. Before he could answer, Rina jumped in smoothly. "He's working while supporting his sister's education." "He's hard-working, Baba." Her father raised an eyebrow. "Working where?" Amir straightened, deciding honesty was safer than fancy lies. "At a grocery store, sir. But I'm planning to build more in the future." A silence followed. One of the uncles coughed. The aunt who whispered earlier gave Rina a sharp glance, but Rina's expression didn't change. She reached for her glass calmly. Her father finally spoke, voice cold. "So, not from our background." Rina's hand tightened around her fork. "Background doesn't matter when someone is good at heart." The table grew heavy with unspoken words. Amir stayed quiet, feeling like he had stepped into a room where every breath was a test. After dinner, Rina's father asked Amir to step into the study. The room smelled of old books and wood polish. "Listen, young man," he began, leaning on his desk. "I don't know what my daughter sees in you, but I don't like surprises. I've built a name, a reputation. People look at us. If you are here to waste her time, leave now before things get ugly." Amir met his eyes, calm but firm. "I may not have your wealth, sir. But I respect your daughter. I won't hurt her." For a moment, the two men stared at each other. Then, with a dismissive wave, Rina's father said, "We'll see." As they left the mansion later, Rina finally let out the breath she had been holding. "You did well," she whispered. Amir gave a short laugh. "I almost fainted." Her lips curved into a small smile. "You were honest. That's better than pretending." He looked at her, surprised. "Isn't this whole thing pretending?" She stopped walking for a moment, her eyes reflecting the dim garden lights. "Maybe. But sometimes, pretending keeps real dangers away." The words lingered in Amir's mind as he rode back home that night. He had thought this deal was simple: act like her boyfriend, earn the money, leave. But as he stepped deeper into her world, he realized it wasn't just about lies and dinners. There were battles here, silent ones, wrapped in pride, tradition, and secrets he had yet to uncover. And for the first time, he wondered if he had agreed to more than he could handle. The following weeks were unlike anything Amir had ever known. His days began at the grocery store as usual, but his evenings belonged to Rena's world, bright rooms filled with rich carpets, polished furniture, and relatives who studied him with hidden curiosity. At first, he felt like a stranger in a play, repeating lines he had not rehearsed. But slowly, the act became easier, not because he was good at lying, but because Rena herself was learning to soften. Every time they appeared together, she would place her hand lightly on his arm. Her voice, usually sharp with tension, grew gentler around him. The first time he made her laugh during a family dinner, he noticed the way her father's frown deepened while her eyes sparkled with relief. It wasn't just an act anymore, it was survival for her, and he was part of it. One evening, Rena invited Amir to a charity event her family was hosting. The hall glittered with chandeliers and the sound of clinking glasses. Women in elegant dresses whispered behind painted smiles, while men in suits shook hands and exchanged business cards. Amir wore the same black suit, the one Rena had chosen for him. He felt out of place, but Rena whispered, "Just stay close to me. You're doing fine." At one point, a man approached Rena, a tall, confident figure with an expensive watch and an even more expensive smile. "Rena," he said smoothly, "I didn't expect to see you here with company." His eyes flicked toward Amir, carrying a sharp edge. "Hello, Kareem," Rena replied, her voice cool. "This is Amir. My boyfriend." Amir extended a hand politely. Kareem shook it, but with a grip that spoke more of challenge than greeting. After he left, Amir leaned closer and asked quietly, "Who was that?" Rena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "The man my father wants me to marry." The words hung heavy between them. Amir understood now why her father had been so cold. This wasn't just about wealth or background. There was another plan already drawn for her, one she was desperately fighting against. Later that night, as they sat in Rena's car, Amir asked, "Do you ever get tired of pretending?" She looked out the window, her profile glowing under the streetlight. "Every day. But if I stop, I'll lose everything. Sometimes, lies are the only walls we have." Amir didn't reply. He could see her strength, but also her loneliness. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to ease that weight. Their bond grew not just at formal events but also in quiet moments. One afternoon, Rena insisted on visiting the small grocery store where Amir worked. She walked in wearing simple clothes to avoid attention, but still carried herself with elegance. His co-workers stared, surprised to see a woman like her laughing softly as Amir showed her how to stack apples properly. "Careful," Amir said as she dropped one. She rolled her eyes. "You make this look easier than it is." He chuckled. "Maybe you're not used to ordinary things." Her smile faded for a second. "Maybe I've forgotten what ordinary feels like." Something in her voice made Amir pause. For the first time, he realized that beneath her expensive clothes and powerful family name, Rena longed for simple things, moments without judgment, without rules. That evening, Amir's sister Aisha came home to find Rena sitting at their small dining table. The room was modest, plain chairs, a tablecloth with faded flowers, walls with peeling paint, but Rena looked at everything as though it was precious. Aisha raised her eyebrows. "And who is this?" Amir coughed awkwardly. "This is Rena. She's, my girlfriend," Rena said smoothly, flashing a kind smile. Aisha blinked, then laughed. "Oh. So this is the mystery girl. Welcome." They ate together, simple food Amir had cooked. Rena complimented it sincerely, and for a while, laughter filled the small apartment. Later, as she left, Aisha nudged Amir. She's different. Careful, bye. Don't let her slip away. Amir stayed silent, but inside, something stirred. As days turned into weeks, Amir noticed changes in himself too. He no longer saw this arrangement as only about money. He caught himself watching Rina when she wasn't looking, when she pushed her hair behind her ear, when she laughed, when her face grew thoughtful and distant. And sometimes, he thought he saw the same softness in her gaze. But then reality reminded him, this was still a deal. A role to play. The money wasn't in his account yet. And her father still doubted him. One night, after another long dinner, as they walked to her car, Rina suddenly stopped. The garden lights cast gentle shadows across her face. "Thank you, Amir," she said quietly. "I know you didn't have to do this. But you've made it easier for me to breathe." Amir looked at her, words caught in his throat. He wanted to tell her that maybe it wasn't just acting anymore, but he swallowed the thought. Instead, he said, "I'm glad I could help." Rina gave him a faint smile, but her eyes revealed something deeper, something she wasn't ready to admit. And in that unspoken silence, both of them felt the truth they were too afraid to name. Amir had always believed that truth was lighter than lies. Lies, he thought, carried weight, piling on the shoulders until they crushed a person. But living in Rina's world, he began to see how some lies were worn like armor. They protected, they shielded, and they hid wounds no one was meant to see. Weeks had passed since their first deal, and their act as a couple had grown smoother. To outsiders, they looked convincing, her hand slipping into his as if it belonged there, his calm smile whenever someone questioned their closeness. But behind those perfect gestures, something deeper was forming, something neither had spoken aloud. It was a Sunday evening when Rina asked Amir to meet her at the lake just outside the city. The place was quiet, the water rippling gently under a sky painted with soft orange light. She wore a simple dress, not her usual formal suits, and Amir noticed how different she looked, less like the powerful daughter of a wealthy man and more like a young woman searching for peace. "Sometimes I come here when I want to escape," she admitted, sitting on a bench. "It's the only place that doesn't remind me of expectations." Amir sat beside her. "You seem like you've been carrying expectations all your life." She gave a sad smile. "That's because I have." She paused, as though deciding whether to continue. "Amir, I told you I wanted you to act as my boyfriend because my father was forcing me to marry Kareem." "That's true. But, that's not the whole truth." Amir turned to her, sensing the weight in her tone. "Then what is the whole truth?" She clasped her hands tightly. "My family's business isn't as perfect as it looks. There are debts. Deals my father made years ago that went wrong. Kareem's family offered to rescue us on one condition: that I marry him. For them, it's not love. It's business. A contract." Amir's chest tightened. He had imagined pressure, tradition, pride, but not this. "So you're bargaining peace." Her eyes glistened, but she held herself firm. "Yes. That's why I can't give in. I can't let them decide my life like I'm property. If I marry Kareem, I'll lose myself." For the first time, Amir saw not just a strong woman fighting for freedom but a daughter caught in chains she had not chosen. He wanted to tell her she wasn't alone, that she could lean on him, but he remembered his own truth, the secret he had not yet shared. That night, Amir went home troubled. Aisha noticed his silence. "What's wrong, Bhai?" He hesitated, then said, "Rina's family, they're forcing her to marry someone." She's using me as a shield. Aisha frowned. And you? Are you only her shield? Amir looked away. It started like that. But now, his words trailed off. Aisha's sharp eyes softened. If you care for her, tell her the truth. Don't let lies stand between you. Amir knew she was right. He had a secret too, one Rina didn't know, that he had taken this deal not just for her, but because of the money. He had never lied about his job, but he had hidden the biggest reason he agreed so quickly. He had done it for Aisha, for her education, for their survival. Would Rina understand? Or would she see him as another person using her pain for his gain? 2 nights later, Rina invited him again, this time to a quiet dinner at her apartment. Unlike her family's mansion, her private space was warm and simple: soft lights, a shelf of books, a few plants by the window. As they ate, Amir finally said, "Rina, there's something I need to tell you." She looked up, curious. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "When you offered me the money, I accepted because I needed it badly. My sister's education depends on it. I didn't just agree to help you, I agreed because I was desperate. I should have told you from the beginning." For a long moment, she was silent. Her fork rested on the plate, untouched. Then she whispered, "So at first, I was only a paycheck to you." The disappointment in her tone stung more than anger would have. Amir leaned forward quickly. "At first, yes. But now, no, Rina. Now it's different. I don't see you as money. I see you as..." He stopped, unable to finish the thought aloud. Her eyes searched his, filled with conflict. She stood and walked to the window, her back facing him. "Amir, I trusted you because you weren't part of my world. I thought you had no reason to use me. But maybe I was wrong." The words cut deep, though her voice trembled as if she didn't want to believe them. Amir rose slowly. "I don't blame you for doubting me. But I promise you, Rina, my reason may have started with money, but my heart, it's not about money anymore." She turned slightly, her face half lit by the lamp. For a moment, he thought she would soften. But then her father's sharp voice echoed in her mind, Kareem's smirk, the weight of betrayal she had faced before. "Maybe," she said softly. "But secrets have a way of destroying trust. And trust is all we had." Her words fell like stones between them. Amir realized then that their fragile bond was cracking, not because of enemies outside, but because of truths finally surfacing. And as he left her apartment that night, the storm inside him was louder than any storm he had faced in the elevator. The days after Amir's confession were heavy with silence. Rina did not call him, and Amir didn't know if he should call her first. Every time he picked up his phone, he imagined her voice cold, her words cutting, and his courage failed. He tried to lose himself in work at the grocery store, but even the sound of the cash register reminded him of the truth that money had been the start of everything. For Rina, the silence was equally unbearable. She sat in her office staring at files she could not read. Her thoughts kept returning to Amir's words. "At first, I did it for money." She wanted to be angry, but another part of her remembered his sincerity, his honesty at the dinner table with her father, the way he had made her laugh when no one else could. Still, trust once cracked was hard to mend. The break came when her father called her into his study. His tone was unusually firm. "Rina," he said, sliding a folder across the table, "I've made arrangements. Next week, you'll get engaged to Kareem." Her heart dropped. "Baba, no. I told you I don't want this. You don't have a choice, he replied sharply. Our family's reputation and stability are at stake. Kareem's family has agreed to clear all debts once the engagement is announced. Rina's voice shook, but she held her ground. I don't care about debts. I won't marry a man I don't trust. Her father slammed the folder shut. Then explain your so-called boyfriend. Who is he really? Do you think I don't know? He works in a grocery store, Rina. He has nothing. Do you want people to laugh at us? Do you want me to watch my daughter throw away her life for a poor boy who lied to you? The words hit hard. She knew her father had investigated Amir. She also knew he wasn't lying about Amir's struggles. But the way he spat those words filled her with anger. He may not have money, Baba, she said firmly, but at least he doesn't see me as a deal. Her father's face turned red with fury. Enough. This conversation is over. Prepare yourself for the engagement. Rina left the room with tears burning in her eyes. She had fought for freedom all her life, but now the walls around her were closing tighter. That evening, she made a decision. She called Amir. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. We need to meet. Tomorrow evening. At the cafe. Amir's heart raced as he heard her voice after days of silence. I'll be there, he said quickly. The cafe on Maple Street was quieter than usual, the air heavy with the smell of coffee and rain-soaked streets. Rina sat by the window, her hands folded, her eyes distant. When Amir arrived, she didn't smile. Rina, he began carefully, thank you for meeting me. She looked at him, her eyes unreadable. Amir, my father knows everything. About your job. About your life. He doesn't believe in us. And he's forcing me to get engaged to Kareem next week. Amir's chest tightened. Then run away from it. Don't let them control you. She shook her head. It's not that simple. My family depends on this deal. If I refuse, I'll not only lose my father's trust but also risk everything for everyone around me. Rina, Amir leaned forward. Listen, I know I made mistakes. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. But I never lied about how I feel now. You're not just a deal anymore. He stopped himself, the words trembling on his lips. Her eyes softened for a second, then hardened again. But how do I trust that, Amir? You accepted because of money. What if tomorrow something else tempts you? What if you leave when I need you most? The question cut deeper than any blade. He wanted to shout that he would never leave, that his heart had already chosen her, but before he could answer, a shadow fell across their table. Kareem stood there, a mocking smile on his face. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said smoothly. Rina, your father told me where you were. Imagine my surprise finding you here with him. His eyes narrowed on Amir. Amir stood, his jaw tight. We're having a private conversation. Kareem ignored him, turning to Rina. You know this won't last. Your father already agreed. Next week, the engagement will happen. And this little act of yours, he flicked his gaze toward Amir, will be forgotten. Rina's hands trembled under the table, but she lifted her chin. You may have Baba's approval, Kareem, but you'll never have mine. Kareem smirked. We'll see. With that, he walked out, leaving a trail of tension behind him. Amir sat back down, his fists clenched. He thinks he's already won. Rina, don't let him. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. Amir, maybe he has. Maybe I can't fight this anymore. Amir's heart sank. Rina, she stood, her chair scraping softly against the floor. I need time to think. Please, don't follow me. And with that, she walked out into the rain, leaving Amir staring at the empty chair across from him. For the first time since this began, he felt not like her shield, not like her partner, but like a man watching the one person he cared for slip beyond his reach. The turning point had arrived. The lie that had brought them together now threatened to tear them apart. The city was quiet that morning, washed clean by the rain. Amir walked along the familiar streets, the memory of Rina's silhouette disappearing into the storm still fresh in his mind. He knew she was angry, hurt, and confused and perhaps, afraid. He understood that. Yet, he also knew one thing with certainty: he could not give up on her. He thought of their time together, the laughter in her apartment, the quiet moments by the lake, the dinners where they pretended to be a couple. It had started as an act, a contract, a shield against the pressures of the world. But over weeks, something real had grown between them, fragile yet undeniable. Amir decided that today, he would do whatever it took to show her that the bond they had formed could survive even the heaviest storm. Rina sat in her apartment, staring out at the rain-slick streets below. Her engagement to Karim was only days away. Her father had become stricter, pressuring her with words and expectations that made her chest feel tight. Yet amid the pressure, her thoughts always returned to Amir, his calm presence, his honesty, the way he had cared for her without judgment. But doubt still lingered. Could she trust him after knowing his reason for accepting the deal at first was money? Could a relationship born from pretense ever survive truth? As if on cue, her phone buzzed. She hesitated but then opened the message. Meet me at the lake. Noon. I'll wait. Amir, her heart skipped a beat. The lake where she had first confessed her family struggles, where secrets had surfaced, felt like the right place to face him, and perhaps face herself. She grabbed her coat and walked into the soft drizzle, hope and fear entwined in her chest. When she arrived, Amir was already there, standing by the bench where their conversation had first turned serious. His black suit was replaced by simple clothes, a sign that he wasn't trying to impress anyone today except perhaps her. Rina, he said softly, as she approached. Thank you for coming. She gave a small nod, uncertain of what to say. Why here? This is where we were honest, Amir replied. Where we shared our fears. I want to be honest again, with you, completely. She looked at him, a mixture of hope and caution in her eyes. I know I made mistakes, Amir continued. I took the deal for money. But everything I feel for you now is real. Not a lie. Not an act. I want to be by your side, not because of money, but because I care for you. I can't imagine letting you go. Rina's lips trembled, and her eyes glistened. Amir, it's not that simple. My father, Karim, everything. I don't know if I can fight it all. He reached out and gently held her hands. You're not alone. Let me help. We'll face everything together, step by step. I don't care about the pressure, the judgments, or the expectations. I only care about you. For the first time in weeks, Rina felt a weight lift from her chest. The anger, the fear, the hopelessness, they were still there, but his words gave her strength. She realized she didn't have to face everything alone. Over the next few days, Amir and Rina worked carefully. He met her father again, but this time with honesty and determination. Amir didn't hide his background, didn't try to impress. He simply showed respect, kindness, and unwavering commitment to Rena's happiness. Slowly, her father began to soften, seeing the sincerity in Amir's eyes and the calm strength he brought to Rena's life. Rena also confronted Karim, making it clear that she had no interest in a forced engagement. With her father's partial support and Amir's calm encouragement, she found her voice. The tension that had seemed unbreakable began to crumble. Finally, one evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in soft oranges and purples, Rena and Amir returned to the lake. The place had witnessed their secrets, their fears, and now, their courage. Rena smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached her eyes. "I never thought we'd get here," she said softly. Amir shook his head, smiling back. "Neither did I. But we did. Together." She looked at him, no pretense, no act, just truth. "I trust you now. I believe in us." He took her hand, holding it gently. "And I'll never let you down. Not ever." The gentle waves lapped the shore, the last raindrops glimmered on the surface, and for the first time in weeks, both of them felt peace. The storm, literal and metaphorical, had passed, leaving them stronger, closer, and ready to face the future together. Rena leaned slightly on Amir's shoulder, and he held her close. The deal that had begun in an elevator, with desperation and fear, had transformed into something real. Something worth fighting for. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in golden light, they knew one truth above all: some bonds, once tested by storms, became unbreakable. And in that moment, surrounded by quiet water and soft light, Amir and Rena finally let themselves breathe freely together.